Good afternoon. We are so proud and honored to be celebrating our veterans. Though we can't host you and celebrate you in person, we hope our attempt to honor you through this platform can serve as a gesture that we truly appreciate your service and your commitment to our community and to our country. We would also like to acknowledge and say thank you to all of our family members, of military members and veterans in the armed forces. We all want to thank you. Like in years past, I would like to take advantage to address the Spanish-speaking community of our community and our Spanish-speaking students to explain the importance of this event. Buenas tardes. Quisiera tomar esta oportunidad para saludar a todos los estudiantes y la gente de nuestra comunidad que habla español y explicarles el significado de este evento tan importante. Este evento es celebración para esas personas que han dado el mayor sacrificio para nuestro país y han estado en la militar nacional. Este evento no tiene ninguna afiliación con ningún partido político. Veterans Day originated as Armistice Day on November 11th, 1919, the first anniversary of the end of World War I. Congress passed a resolution in 1926 for an annual observance, and November 11th became a national holiday, beginning in 1938. Unlike Memorial Day, Veterans Day pays tribute to all American veterans, living or dead, but especially giving thanks to living veterans who served their country honorably during war and peacetime. In 1954, President Dwight D. Eisenhower officially changed the name of the holiday from Armistice Day to Veterans Day. Veterans Day commemorates veterans of all wars. For this year's presidential proclamation, our nation's service members, past and present, their families represent the very best of America. Motivated by patriotism and love of country, our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and space warfighters serve at home and abroad with professionalism, ingenuity, integrity, and devotion. Their families always stand beside them in their missions and as always, and the transition to civilian life. During National Veterans and Military Families Month, we celebrate the loved ones of our countrymen and women in uniform and recognize their sacrifices that they have made in support of our nation's heroes. When I first took office, I pledged to our armed forces that I would always have their backs, and that means providing for military families as well. The demands and challenges of military life are shared by the loved ones and our heroes. Spouses, parents, siblings, and children often shoulder increased burden and responsibilities when their servicemen and women are called to duty. Military families, especially spouses, have to endure the stress of frequent relocation and deal with job searches under state licensing regulations that can prevent them from working in their chosen occupations. To address this issue, the Department of Defense has implemented programs to enhance child care opportunities for military families. To many veterans, carry painful memories and bear physical and emotional scars from their service. We will never forget our veterans who are suffering from mental health issues or the family members, military families that are left behind by veteran suicide. I have prioritized changing the culture surrounding mental health and promoting a society that recognizes the infinite value and the purpose of every life. Last year, I mobilized every available federal resource to develop the implement to the President's roadmap to empower veterans and the end of national tragedy of suicide. We secured a record $8.6 billion in funding for mental health services in the most recent Department of Veterans Affairs Appropriations Bill. In October, the Commander John Scott Hannon Veterans Mental Health Care Improvement Act was signed, which will bolster these efforts even further. Like never before, we are using a whole-of-government approach to better understand and prevent suicide. No American warrior should ever be forgotten, and no military family should ever be left behind. Since the beginning of my administration, it has been a top priority and my solemn pledge to honor, equip, protect our service members, veterans, and their families. My commitment has not wavered. America's military might is essential to our safety, prosperity, and national security. Caring for the brave Americans in our armed forces and their families and upholding our sacred obligation to those who have served with honor in the least we can do for those who have given so much for so many. This month, we pledge our gratitude to every man and woman currently serving this nation in uniform, to all of our veterans who help preserve and defend our precious freedom, and to every family member who shares in the service and sacrifice of military life. My administration will never stop fighting to enhance and improve the quality of life for these exceptional Americans. Now, therefore, as President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the law of the United States, do hereby proclaim November 2020 as National Veterans and Military Families Month. I encourage all communities, all sectors of society, and all Americans to acknowledge and honor the service, sacrifices, and contributions of veterans and military families for what they have done and for what they do every day to support our great nation. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 13th day of October in the year of our Lord 2020, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 245th. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eduardo Alvarado. People know me as Eddie Alvarado. I graduated from here, from Muleshoe High School in 1983, and I enlisted in the U.S. Marines May of '83, which was my last month in high school. I actually missed our senior day because I was at Amarillo signing my contract and getting my physical done and what have you. But yes, ever since I was a little boy, it may be funny to some of you, but I was watching that program, Gomer Pyle, USMC. And when I saw those 4 Marines carrying those flags under the arch, I was like, wow. I was just awestruck at the uniforms. And yes, I did say, I want to be one of those when I grow up. But then as I got older, of course, conflicts in the world, around our world, my senior year was the year that the Beirut bombing happened. So, of course, I wanted to be a part of what it was going to take to protect our people, our American people, and so yes, I enlisted in the Marine Corps. I knew that's what I was going to do. College was never in my plans. I knew that I'd be going to the military. Now, I didn't know that I would make it a career, but I did end up serving 24 years. My first 4 years were in the reserves here in Lubbock. And then I did 20 years of active duty. So my experiences in the Marine Corps have taken me pretty much all over the world. I've had a lot of opportunities to meet some very exciting, famous people. Once again, I went in '83, so a lot of you may not know some of the people that I've met, but I met George Brett of the Kansas City Royals. He was a Hall of Fame baseball player. Bo Jackson, everybody knows Bo Jackson, hopefully. And Derek Thomas, he was a football player for the Chiefs. But as a Marine, I was able to travel and be involved with a lot of community work, a lot of volunteering for such things as Toys for Tots, where we gather, as Marines, we gather and collect toys prior to the Christmas season, and we, about a week prior to Christmas, we were able to give toys to the not so fortunate families or children, so that they may have a Merry Christmas just like everyone else. And I was, like I said, it's just in my heart to always give. To this day, the Marine Corps taught me a lot of being about responsibility and sharing with others and just doing the right thing. One of the, it's not always, how do you say, peaches and cream, roses. Some of the tasks that I had to do, yes, were very difficult. Being away from home was always hard, especially with kids at home. I was very involved with my kids, so I always wanted to know what they were doing, where they were at. I never missed any of their functions. I'm trying not to get emotional here. But yeah, even if it was just a, hey, perfect attendance ribbon that my son or my daughter got, I was there. And the Marine Corps afforded me to be able to just, hey, take off that little bit of time to go do that and then come right back to work. My family means the world to me, and We are very blessed, and I'm glad that my children and my wife and I were able to visit pretty much every corner of this country, from Washington State to Washington, D.C., to Florida, Puerto Rico, California, the Midwest. They lived in all sorts of places, so they've got a lot of experience in history, in American history, hands-on. You know, they were able to see the space shuttle landing at one time in Fort Worth. So, you know, and they loved it. They loved it. I mean, yes, it was hard when we would move because they would have to leave their friends behind. And then, of course, they'd show up at a new place and they'd have to be the new kid on the block. And so basically it's like starting over, the way I envisioned it. I mean, I was fortunate to go to one school my whole life, but my kids had to switch schools every 3 or 4 years. And to have to start over as a new kid, you know, you might be the star quarterback when you left one school, but when you show up to the other, you know, you're going to have to start at the bottom because nobody knows you, and you're going to have to prove yourselves. And I'm very proud to say that I think my kids were able to do so. One of the good times that really it wasn't a good time then, but I laugh about it now, is when I first went to boot camp. Of course, it's like a new kid in a new school. You're like, what am I doing? You know, what was I thinking when I decided to do this? And my very first morning that we ate breakfast in the chow hall, which is the cafeteria, I saw a table full of drill instructors. And to me, at that point, a drill instructor was like, oh my goodness, they're like walking gods to me. You know, it was like, wow, these are the guys that are going to train me. These are the guys that are going to make me what I want to become. Well, as I was walking to my table to eat, I was just staring over at them, and of course, one of them caught my eye, and like I said, it wasn't funny then, but it is now. He came straight to me. He chewed me out. I was scared. I was nervous. I was 17 years old. I was like, just, you know, what am I doing? He was just yelling at me, asking him, why am I staring at them? Keep your eyes forward. Don't let me ever see you do that again, and this, that, and the other. And I was like, by golly, I never did it again. But now, yes, now it's funny, and it's, but at the time, it really wasn't. But also, for those of you who may be thinking about joining the military, it has a lot of benefits. It's, you know, it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone, and I'm here to tell you that it's not easy. If it was easy, of course, everybody would do it. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, the Marine Corps, it may sound kind of weird, but when you go to boot camp, it's almost like they want you to fail. Because if you fail, you're not the type of person they want to begin with. So it's very stressful, it's very physical, but I think the biggest part of it is mental. They play with your mind. They try to make you mad. They work you out so hard. They run you. They run you through rifle manual. You have to study a lot. But yeah, it's a lot of it is mental. The very first morning we were there, we had to get up and make our beds and get dressed at least 10 times. Even though we did it correctly the first time, they said we didn't do it well enough or fast enough, so we had to get back in bed, get out of bed, make our bed, get dressed. I kid you not, about 10 times. And that was how they basically broke us into what to expect for the next 12 weeks. And so, yeah, there was plenty of times when I would just stare off towards the east, which is where Muleshoe is from San Diego. And I was like, I want to go home. But I stuck it out. I'm proud of what I am, what I've done. You know, I'll forever be a Marine, and at this point, I really have no regrets. I was afforded the opportunity to go to college at no expense, you know, out of my pocket. I took some college courses, and it helped me a lot. It taught me about, you know, of course, the study habits and, you know, getting, just bettering yourself. So out of boot camp, I knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a mechanic because I had seen my older brothers work on cars, tear them apart, and be able to put them back together again, whether it was a model car or whether it was a real car. So I went into the Marine Corps knowing that I wanted to be a mechanic, and I was able to go to school and learn how to work on the Humvees, the big trucks, big bulldozers, forklifts, anything and everything. Taught me everything I needed to know. I did serve in the Iraqi War during 2004 and 2005. Backing up a little bit to Desert Storm in 90 and 91, I was scheduled to leave, but as you all may recall or have read, that the war ended pretty abruptly, and so they stopped our flights. We didn't have to go after all. But I served in the Iraqi War during 2004, 2005 after 9/11 happened. I'm very proud of my tour there. Unbeknownst to a lot of my family members, especially my mom, I did volunteer to go. I wasn't scheduled to go, but I thought to myself, you know what? I'm nearing the end of my career, and I have yet to go to war or battle. And deep down inside, every military person feels like you want a part of that, to say, I did my part. And that's not to say that the ones who didn't go didn't do their part, but it was something that I wanted to be a part of, and I was very successful there. Me and the Marines that were with me, we all earned awards and medals or ribbons, which I am very proud of. I can say that I've got those, and I'll have them for the rest of my life. It was at times, yes, it was a scary situation, but some of the high school kids or kids in general asked me, "Were you scared when I was there?" And no, not really. Be it what it may, my mindset was, if it happens, it happens. And but you can't be scared. You've got to pull through and do your job pretty much as if you were back home. Because if you're scared or if I didn't want to go, then I probably shouldn't have volunteered in the first place. So lucky for me, she was able to talk me into staying. I completed my 20 years of active duty, and of course now I'm retired, and I do receive a pension, and I will receive a pension for the rest of my life. Work when I have to, work when I want to, or don't when I don't. So I love my wife to death, and she was very instructional in making my military career as smooth as possible. And 34 and a half years later, we're still married. So I appreciate her a lot.
I'm J.D. Cage. I'm 81 years old. I've lived here in Muleshoe for about 45 years. I graduated from high school in Eagle Pass. At that time, we had compulsory military service, and so I knew I was going in sometime, but you were exempted if you went in. If you went to college. I went to A&M and was going to studied agriculture. At the same time, I was in the Corps, which was compulsory at the time, but I would have done that anyway. And when I got through with school, I had gone all the way through military science there and completed that, which qualified me to be commissioned, and I was commissioned a second lieutenant. And I served, I went into training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is the Field Artillery School. It also is the headquarters for Field Artillery. 2 weeks before reporting to active duty, President Kennedy at the time sent a telegram changing my orders from 6 months, which I had been given when I was in college. When I was commissioned, I changed it from a 6-month tour to 2 years. And that was because of the Berlin crisis. When I was in the service, I saw people that had been called back, soldiers that had been called back to active duty who had only served 6 months, and some of them had served a year. And they weren't really happy, the ones that were in for, especially those that had served a year, because they were the low man on the totem pole. Well, by serving 2 years, I was in with those that had completed their active duty time that they really should have done it. I didn't mind it. Fort Sill was a beautiful place. It was being the headquarters of the field artillery. It was really nice. And they had a nice country club, which was nice. And that's primarily where we would eat. Upon completing my officer's basic training course, I was assigned as a platoon leader to a newly formed Lacrosse missile unit. Though I did not go overseas, I had the opportunity after my officer's basic course they asked me where I wanted to go, and the Berlin crisis was pretty much over by that time. And I just said, well, wherever you need me. And they put me in this Lacrosse missile unit, which was a new process that they had, or a new weapon that they had in the Army. One thing that was sort of neat about it, it was a surface-to-surface missile. And it was guided by a computer, and that was when they first started using computers. And I went through their school for that. It was also carried a nuclear weapon, or one of its weapons was nuclear. I went through their nuclear weapons school, and before I could do that, I was given a top secret clearance, which is it's nice to have. I guess it's a little bit difficult to get because they ask a bunch of questions of not only you but people in your community that know you. I spent 2 weeks while I was in the service over at Fort Eustis, Virginia, in a transportation school, which then trained me when I went back to my battalion to be battalion transportation officer. That was very interesting to me. It was, they taught us how we actually loaded trains, which you see going through every now and then with military equipment on, trucks and tanks and those such as that. Well, we didn't have tanks, but we did have our carriers for our missile. And you had to be able to load up the whole battalion. That was one form. The other one, of course, was just driving and what you needed to do, how you needed to put your equipment in. And the one that most interested me was aircraft loading. And I was interested in that because you had to load your equipment on there and also look to see that the airplane was in balance. So you had to be able to utilize weight and balance. I was a pilot at the time, and that was very interesting to me. It still benefits me if you want to know what you can learn, and it will carry through for many, many, many years. That did interest me very much. Another thing that I did was a benefit when I was in the military is I was working on my instrument rating for flying instruments, and Fort Sill had Ross Aviation, which trained all the Army instrument pilots, or pilots to make them instrument pilots. And I just went over and visited with the fella in charge one time and told him what I wanted to do, and he said, come out here and I'll teach you I'll get you trained. I went through that. It was excellent. I've never forgotten that, and I've used that almost every year since I was in the military. It was wonderful, wonderful education that way, and it was free. I felt like my time in the military was well spent, though it did not directly influence my life's work. Military service teaches leadership skills and responsibility, both valuable life lessons. A quote learned in some of my training was, "You can delegate work, but you cannot delegate responsibility." That was a big thing in the military. And it's also excellent words to live by.
Hi, my name is Tatum Pasley. I'm a senior here at Muleshoe High School. My inspiration for the military is my grandfather, Charlie Villarreal. He was in Vietnam, and he was with the missiles and cannons. He has inspired me to join the military, but sadly I can no longer join the military because I tore my ACL for the second time and they will not accept me. I decided to pursue, after high school, in a military school where I will hopefully soon get my PhD in psychiatry so I can help the ones that did serve in the military.
Hi, my name is Jay Gloria, and I'm a senior at the Muleshoe High School. The branch I would like to go to is the Air Force. One of the reasons is to enhance my ability to lead, protect, and serve. The thrill of discovering new places and interacting with different types of people all over the world, even the trips all over the country, is something great I would like to see myself. The experiences and opportunities that the Air Force will provide me is to further my education and improve myself while serving my country. These are the reasons why I think it would be a good fit for me to stay my long life career.
Veterans Day to me is a day that we need to always realize how thankful and blessed that we are to live in a great country like the United States, and thank veterans and those currently serving in the military for helping us keep our freedoms, our freedom of religion, freedom of speech, women's rights. You look at everything that the military does. We live in the greatest nation in the world, and Veterans Day is a day to thank them, but we also need to have it serve as a reminder that we need to thank veterans each and every day, because they are leaving their families, whether it's the wife and kids or parents, and they're going into potential harm's way. They're going into places that I can't even imagine. But, well before my daughter joined the Navy and went to the Naval Academy in 2006 and then was in the Navy in 2010, I've always felt very blessed and wanted to thank veterans. But as I see her travels throughout the world and some of the places that she's at, and I don't know everything that she's doing, I'm even more thankful that we have people that are willing to sacrifice and go and do things. And many times I think, especially when we're younger, we don't realize the impact that those people have, what they're doing and what they're doing at this moment in the military. There's people all over the world that are sacrificing their time, and hopefully not much more than that, but their energies are going towards keeping America and the world where it's a country that people can live in with certain freedoms. So Veterans Day has a very special place in my heart, and which it should everyone. And I just want to thank the veterans that have spoke before me and speak after me, and all those around the world. And I'm just very thankful to be here today. Thank you.
My name is David Vela. Yeah, it's a kind of a family tradition, but I signed up in right after high school. Well, I went to a semester of college, and I enlisted in August of 1987, and then I finally retired in October 10th, 2013. But you mentioned the family tradition, and I guess my dad really actually started it off that way. He's a World War II veteran, and then each of my brothers and sister, we all just started getting in, and it was kind of that thing about serving our country, and it's that sense of pride and doing those things. And my dad started it off, and then my oldest brother Joe did it, and then I have another brother that Tony, Ernie, Freddie, and George, and I mean the list goes on. My sister Christine, and so we all decided to take a part in our country and serving our country. I started off with the 101st Airborne Division, and I stayed there for about a few years, 3 years or so, and then I moved on and went to some other parts of the country, and I actually did 10 years of active duty service, and then the rest of the time was in the National Guard, in reserves. And so we had a pretty good time doing that, and been deployed to different locations in the world.
Are you still there?
No, I was in the IRR, and then I finally just I got tired, and I mean, there was a few things that you had to do, and it just kind of took a little bit more of my time. Once I became an educator and an administrator for the district, I just decided to go ahead and retire, and but that's where it is right now.
So what is your highest rank? Citations, medals?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't really keep up with that. It's kind of one of those things where as I grew in rank, I started getting more rank. I retired as a sergeant first class, and but I generally I didn't care about that stuff. I wanted to get my soldiers what they deserved, and I mean, it's if the soldiers are doing well and they make you look good. They make you look good. So that's all I cared about. I have several accommodations, and went to air assault school. Army honor coms, Army achievements, MSNs. But I mean, to me, that it's just it's decoration on your uniform, but that doesn't mean who you are as a soldier. It just kind of. It looks good on your uniform, but really, honestly, I didn't really care about all that. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where I met a lot of good friends, and I still keep in contact with them. I have a friend that I was still in with the 101st back in 87, 88, and 90. His name is Richard Baker, and he still calls me every now and then. We're planning a trip to go to Thailand someday. He wants to do those things. He was a crazy guy who he was a person that had been there for a little bit, and then when I came into the unit, he kind of took me under his wing, and we started hanging out and doing some things, and he became a really good friend, and we still keep in touch all this time. And I mean, there's Carlos Fuentes and all these other soldiers that you meet, and so it's kind of like your brothers. I mean, they whenever you need them, they're there. And whenever they call me, I'll be there for them as well. Oh my gosh, Lord have mercy. Yeah, absolutely. The military is a great place to start. It sounds like a commercial, really. But I'm telling you, it's kind of a thing where you learn discipline. You learn to be motivated and dedicated and committed to everything that you do in life. The military has showed me so much in my life that I had continued to use those skills and those mottos that will take me on forever. As being an administrator, or coach, an old coach, and a teacher, I try to instill those into my students, and I just continue to strive and to make them better, and hopefully I can instill a little bit of discipline in them. But it also has an ability to make you very committed to your job, and that's I brought that kind of here, not kind of. I did bring it here to Muleshoe ISD. In the position I'm in as a safety administrator and the administrator for Gateway. I handle that as almost like a mini boot camp, and hopefully I can prepare them to get whatever they have done, their infractions, I prepare them to get ready to go back to the classroom. And then my safety side of things, the military has instilled in me a bunch of safety and security and those things, and hopefully I can use that to enhance other people's ability to do things as well. There's a lot of students that come up to me and talk to me every day, and they and literally it's every day they come in and ask me questions about the military. And the kids that I do have, or the students I do have in the at Gateway, Miss Graves and I have put this program together that hopefully they will look in that direction, because it changed my life, and hopefully it will change theirs. And hopefully we get to them and to do better in the classroom, behavior-wise, grades and attendance, and whatever we need for them to get better. And I couldn't do it alone without Miss Graves' help, but she is a great asset to our Gateway program. But yes, I think that I have helped some individuals that are probably leaning more towards the military instead of college first.
My name is Keenan Puckett, and I am a senior here at Muleshoe High School. I'm interested in the military because both of my parents were in the Army, and they were both mechanics. And for the longest time, I grew up really aspiring to them. I felt like it was such a cool thing for them to see them in the military, hear all of their stories. and it's one of the main reasons why I plan on joining the military. I personally plan on going into the Navy mainly because my mom's side of the family grew up on the East Coast, and seeing the ocean only for a few times, I've really been interested in it. And the Navy also has more of what I'm planning on doing in the Navy. I plan on going as a diver, mainly an underwater welder. I'm interested in that because of Mr. T and the welding program here at Muleshoe High School. It's been one of the best things I've ever been in high school, and it's inspired me. And joining the Navy, it feels like I would have a place, somewhere that every single day when I wake up, I would have a purpose to do something more and to be a part of something bigger. And one of the greatest bonuses of being in the Navy would be all the opportunities I would have once I finish, or even during it. So right now, I don't plan on going to college. But if I do, I would get it paid for, and also all the colleges I would be able to go to would also partially increase. So if I don't want to go to college, like I'm currently not planning on, the opportunities I would still have would be greatly increased. Because right now, if I want to be a Navy diver, that's cool, but if I don't plan on doing it, I'll still be able to do a lot of other stuff, from welding jobs to working on machinery. And if I don't plan on going that route, I could go to college. So college would be paid for, mostly, and also I would be able to have a job and have a place to live, all while I'm being able to go to college. So even though right now I don't plan on going to college, if I wanted to in the future, I could. And afterwards, if I don't think that, all of this machinery and stuff, it's not healthy for me, I want to go back to college, but I'm already out of the Navy, I'll still get benefits from just being in it, potential scholarships, and potentially being able to join at a higher rate. I would be able to join at more prestigious colleges, I guess. And all the opportunities I would have once I'm out would also be increased. I would be able to go to work offshore on an oil rig or on pipelines underwater, and all the inshore stuff would also be pretty great. Being able to work on dams or nuclear facilities would just be really great. Having all these opportunities and roads I could go down is something I'm really interested in. And hey, if I'm really interested in the Navy, I could stay in it for as long as I want, up to a certain age, but that's why I plan on joining the Navy.
Hello, I'm Basil Nash from here in Muleshoe, and I would like to give a big shout out and a big thanks for not only the community of Muleshoe, but for Muleshoe High School for honoring the veterans that have served our nation and remembering the veterans on Veterans Day. I served with the Marine Corps, with the 3rd Marine Air Wing, and most of my time was in Camp Pendleton, California. September the 1st, 1975, a friend of mine, Terry Sampley, and I went to a recruiter station in Amarillo and visited a little bit. I really didn't have an idea what all I wanted to do, but I was thinking that I did want to serve. And so me and Terry went together, and they put me in one room, they put Terry in another room, and got to visiting with us. And we stayed and answered a bunch of questions and went through some different things and just visited with the recruiters. That evening, they offered us a room to stay, and so we stayed the night in Amarillo. And the next day, we went through some physicals, and that is probably my only regret in joining the military and in serving in the military, was doing it without my mom knowing. Because when I got home and told her that I had joined the Marine Corps, it was a shock. It was a joy, but it was a huge shock. And she got over it before long. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time with the military. I thoroughly enjoyed serving with the Marine Corps. We had heard some horror stories about boot camp, but I went into boot camp with a mental attitude, with a mental thought of knowing that whatever they put before me, I could do. no matter what they asked me to do, I was going to give it my all. No matter what they placed before me, I was going to do everything I could physically or mentally do to succeed in what they put before me. And I knew that they were not intentionally going to kill me. So, we just, you put one foot in front of the other, you get up, and just go after what they put out there. It was a challenge. I thought I was in good physical shape when I went to boot camp. But one of the things with boot camp, and I know with the Marine Corps boot camp, they want to condition you to their standards. And so they'll break you down and build you back up to what they want. And I think that's one of the prides of the Marine Corps, is having an elite fighting force in all areas of they do, in all of their job tasks that they do. A lot of people think of the Marine Corps as just a bunch of men with rifles going out and fighting. Well, that is every Marine's basic job, basic MOS. And then they have other jobs after that. After boot camp, which there was a lot of boot camp that I did thoroughly enjoy. There was some of it that I did. There was times I thought, I'm not going to make it. But you just keep getting up and going on, just like with life today. You keep getting up and going on and picking up what they put before you. Things you're doing here in school, there's some of it you think, I just can't get this, but just keep striving at it, and you will succeed at it. After I finished boot camp at Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego, I left there and went to Millington, Tennessee, which is just north of Memphis, Tennessee, for mechanics training. And I was there a little over 3 months. And one of the things with the Marine Corps that we learned and really enjoyed doing, one of the things was meeting men from all over the country. And they also had men from other nations there. There was men there from Iran and a few other nations going to mechanic school there where we were. And it was an airframes training center, Naval Air Station Millington. And I was there a little over 3 months. And the aircrafts, we worked on engines, transmissions, gearboxes, just basic mechanics on the equipment that made the aircraft work. And we got basics and things done there. After my 3 months there, I had a couple of weeks leave and went back home for a couple of weeks and was fortunate to get to go back to California. And got back to Camp Pendleton, California, and was stationed with the 22 area, as they called it, there at Camp Pendleton, MAG 39, Marine Air Group 39, 3rd Marine Air Wing. And I was with HML Squadron, Helicopter Marine, Light Marine, the Huey Squadron, Squadron 269, or 267. And I spent pretty much my next 3.5, almost 4 years with that squadron. And started out as just a basic mechanic, which most of your basic mechanics start out on the wash crew. And that gets old. But that's just something you do. You start out at the bottom and get around guys, you watch guys, you listen. And I had never been around a Huey helicopter. I'd never had a desire to fly. The first time I ever flew was when I flew from Amarillo to San Diego. And but after I got into the squadron, got to being around the Huey helicopters a little bit, working on them a little bit, and I was very fortunate being in what they called the flight line, which was where most of the mechanics were that done the maintenance, and a lot of the flight crews were out of flight line. And after a few months, Gunnery Sergeant Clayton, which was in charge of the flight line, I told him I'd like to start flying. And it just grew from there. and I become a crew member. From there, a crew chief that got to work on but not only work on, but maintain helicopters, and then you were also part of the flight crew. And each part of the flight crew has a very important part, but they also all work together. And most of our crews was at least a crew chief, a co-pilot, and a pilot. And at times you had either another observer or a gunner or someone else that was in training that went with you. With our flying, we done a lot of training. I entered active duty in January the 9th of 1976. I signed up early, and there was a delay program, and I went active duty of January 9th of 1976. And I served active duty until January the 8th of 1980. Through my time with the Marine Corps, I did not serve in any combat zones. A lot of the men that I served with and trained and worked with served in combat zones later on. Unfortunately, several lost their lives in different accidents and events and things through that. We had crew members lose their lives during training. One thing that we learned to realize pretty quick, that in the military, that not every day is just a normal day. And so when you have men and women that do sign up to serve our nation, I think very highly of them, because they're signing on a piece of paper saying that they will, in their desiring to train, to serve, and protect the United States of America. The freedoms that we have today, the freedoms that we've lived in and experienced and that we're going to have in the future, is because of men and women that have been willing to serve and to live in the military, live with the military, to go into conditions and to go into places that's not comfortable. You know, that to face things that are unknown. You know, every day can be something new. It can be something unknown, no matter how much you try to prepare and train. Not every day is written down in ink on this is how it's going to go. And so the men and women that are serving our nation, that have served our nation, when I get a chance, I want to thank them. And Veterans Day, I want to remember them. And thank those that have served. You know, it's just, it takes a special people. And a lot of people think, well, I don't know that I have that. Well, I think there's some of that in each and every one of us. I think there's some of that in each and every one of us as Americans, because we live in a nation and we have things that we want to hold true and keep and protect and not just give up. So I believe that there's a desire and there's a peace in each and every one of us. We may not know it on the onset, but when it comes time to get down to it, there's some of that in each and every one of us. There's not a job in the military that's not important. You know, whether it's peacetime or wartime, whether it's during conflict or you know, whichever. There's every bit of it that is, you know, when things are falling down around you, you know, you just keep going. You just hang on to it and just keep striving on. You know, I've had men tell me before, well, I served, but it wasn't important. Well, each and every bit of it's important. It doesn't matter if you were the supply clerk back in who knows wherever, sacking up boxes of toilet paper to send somewhere. That's important. You know, you have guys that serve out in the field and serve out in the, whether it be the jungle, the desert, or swamp, or wherever, and they get out there 2-3 weeks, a month, 2 months, and when they get to come back to the rear bases, and then they have some of those conveniences that we take for granted, even as a roll of toilet paper, that's a luxury. So no matter what your job is in the military, no matter where it's at or what it is, it's important, because that's something that's showing a supply and a help for someone else doing their job. You know, so each and every man and woman that has served our nation and that is serving now, my hat's off to them.
The greatest country in the world, we would not enjoy the many freedoms we have today without the sacrifice of the men and women who heard and answered the call of the past 244 years. They have made our freedom possible. We ask all U.S. citizens to join us to pause on Veterans Day in tribute to the priceless contributions of all veterans. Please accept our humble expression of gratitude for the liberty and freedom which you and fellow veterans have given to us. Tonight's flag ceremony will be conducted by Tatum Pasley, granddaughter of Charlie Villarreal, U.S. Army Vietnam veteran. Zach Hasley, grandson of Jerry Bruton, U.S. Navy veteran, and Coach Austin Ross, active U.S. Army Reserve. Please welcome the pride of Muleshoe, the mighty M Band. They will be dedicating tonight's program to all the veterans for their service to our country, past and present. The band will perform "This Is My Country" and "America the Beautiful." It will conclude with "Task," performed by Lily Castro and Abraham Mendoza. Drum majors are Isabel Aviles, Lily Castro, and Mark Espinoza. Directors of the Mighty M High School Band are William A. Shelley and Jessica Miners. Mighty M Band is sponsored by Bungie, Texas Farm Bureau, and Bailey County Electric. Everyone, could you please stand and face the flag? Tonight, we will pay our honor and respect to all men and women veterans who have given the supreme sacrifice for their country in time of war and duty, to their families for suffering this great loss. We thank you. Thank you to the men and women who have dedicated their time and lives to the liberties that we all enjoy every day. Ladies and gentlemen, please give one more round of applause to Muleshoe Mighty M Band.